Hi, I'm Mike Edwards. The company is Home Improvement Doctor Limited. It's part of the DIY Doctor Group, and we're making a series of videos down here on our test site in Somerset, answering some and hopefully a lot of the questions that you've asked us over the years. And of course, sometimes we're not actually, we like to do the job, physically do the job where we can and show you us doing it, but sometimes that's not possible. So we've created a small film studio down on our test site. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you some of the health and safety equipment that we use as and when necessary when we're actually physically working on the site. We're going to show you this because these are the things, health and safety is becoming more and more important. And it's always been important, but now it's being enforced in an awful lot of places. So we're going to show you what's available. Most of this stuff, in fact, all of this stuff is available from Screwfix and other places, DIY sheds and that sort of stuff. So you can go in, it's fairly inexpensive because people realise you've got to have it. So they're not, it's not an extraordinary amount of money, and it does keep you safe, as we'll explain as we go through. The first thing I want to talk about are, you can see I'm standing here with a loose t-shirt on. Okay, that's not a good idea, especially if you're using power tools, drills or whatever. Loose clothing can get caught up in it. It's a great idea to get a fairly inexpensive pair of overalls. You can see we've got some DIY Doctor overalls there, and just slip those on over your clothes. It keeps everything in one place and you're unlikely to get shirt tails or whatever caught in machinery. So a decent set of overalls is a great idea, and of course it keeps your clothes clean as well. You can wear your day clothes, slip your overalls on, do a bit of work, take your overalls off, and you're fine to go out. The second thing that we suggest is a good strong pair of boots. These are, because we're on site most of the time, these are steel toe cap boots. There's a separate video about the boots, some boots that we've tested. So a good strong pair of boots with a good sole, because I don't know how many of you have been putting some stuff together and have trodden on a nail or a screw or whatever, but it's very, very painful. And all sorts of things can happen, tetanus and whatever. I've forgotten the number of times that we've been taken to the, or found ourselves in an A&E room having a tetanus jab and that sort of stuff after some rusty nails on site or stuff. So a good pair of boots. Make sure you tuck the laces in when they're tied up. You don't want to be tripping over those. So they're a sensible thing to have. More and more people now have got power tools at home, and they're doing their own drilling and their own cutting. I apologise for the noise, but as I said, we're on a working site, so we'll get a bit of interruption from time to time. And there's three different types of ear defender. The normal ear muffs, a prettier set of ear defenders, shall we say, that fit snugly into your ears and brace over your head, just like some stereo headphones. The earpieces themselves are removable and disposable, and then you can buy from most DIY sheds a bag of little plastic earplugs that you simply insert in your ears, and then when you finish with them, throw them away. So that's three types of ear defender, all relatively inexpensive, and if you're going to use power tools all day, a really good idea. Eyesight's very important, quite obviously, and so easy to get a splinter springing up from a power saw or even a hand saw. So protective goggles, a great idea. Simple pair that slip over. These have got so that in keeping with the times, if you like, in recent years, they're almost designer goggles now. And this set we particularly like. We use this all the time. If you're cutting timber such as MDF, for example, these are goggles with a mask attached. You simply slip that over your head, put the mask on, and the glasses fit neatly as well. So if you're sawing timber, or you're in any dusty environment, or you're drilling bricks or whatever, you can protect yourself from the dust and protect your eyes at the same time. There are cheaper types of mask, and of course the mask can be bought on their own. and you can buy masks without the glasses that go over your head. So if you're working with brick dust or timber dust, particularly MDF, a very, very good idea to be wearing something along those lines. Again, all relatively inexpensive. Your hands are very vulnerable places. Now we've got 2 or 3 sets of gloves, in fact 4 sets of different types of glove here. The most basic are a box of disposable vinyl gloves. These are throwaways things, the sort of thing that you get in a garage, but they will keep your hands clean. And if you're dealing with something like lime or cement, lime plaster, or ordinary plaster's got a lot of lime in it, it's a great idea to have some of these on. If you're not used to working with these materials, your skin can get eaten away quite quickly. So a great idea to put those on, and they are very cheap and disposable. The next step up is a normal pair of rigger's gloves or gardening gloves. Again, quite inexpensive, but will protect your hands quite a lot. Quite obviously, by putting gloves on like this, you lose the feel for a job you're doing. So very cleverly, the fingerless glove was invented. Now, I don't know whether you can see, if you get a close-up, these are the gloves that we wear. This is my pair. And there's a nice big split in there where I slipped on a rail and run my hand along the sharp edge of a piece of angle line. Now that could have been my hand. So I wear these largely because they protect the palms of my hand very well, and I've got the full feel of my fingers. So if I'm doing some intricate work, I can use my fingers, but it still protects the palms of my hands. And a lot of people are wearing these days because they give you the feel and the protection at the same time. And last but not least, you know, if you're doing any drainage work, rodding a manhole, or you've got to mend a toilet or something, or clear a blockage, a long pair of rubber gloves. A very good idea. So all of this stuff is available. It's ever so easy to get hold of. You can hire it even if you don't want to buy it, but it's a great idea to have if you do a lot of work at home. Knees come in for a tremendous bashing if you're doing this sort of work regularly, and knee pads are a great idea. You can see that I'm wearing a pair of sight trousers. These are special cargo trousers to protect me, and these have got flaps in them in order for me to tuck knee pads underneath there. So you can buy knee pads, cheap knee pads that slide into special cargo trousers like these sight ones. However, these are gel pads. There's a gel pad in there. These simply, using a bit of Velcro, simply fits your knees, and you can get down and do your job on your knees without any damage there. So that's a great thing to have with you as well. And I guess last but by no means least, your head. Everybody's familiar with the normal sight hat. This is a bit of a cleverer sight hat. You can see they're filthy. We've been working day in and day out. These have got goggles attached as well. The goggles do come off, but as you put the hat on, you've got the goggles automatically. So if you're working in an environment that you need eye protection and head protection, the two come as one there. And the most common is the what's called a bump cap, just a baseball cap with a reinforced plastic insert there. So you can be bashed on the head as hard as you like. The thing to remember is that when you're wearing a helmet or a hat, that it does increase your height by ½ an inch. And I've heard many tradesmen tell me that safety hats are dangerous because it increases their height, and before they put a safety hat on, they never bang their head on the scaffold, but now they're an inch taller, they keep doing it. But it doesn't hurt, of course, with the safety hat on. So a great idea if you're doing any work where you need to protect yourself. So just bear in mind that all of this stuff is available, and if you're doing any work at home, it's a great idea to protect yourself, because then you can carry on doing it safely. So that's a bit of health and safety advice from Home Improvement Doctor. I hope you enjoy.